Thank you very much, Alice. There's listening to everybody's comments and experiences, and there's just so much, and my head's always spinning when it comes to teaching because I want to be able to teach better, I want to be able to communicate better. And in a previous career, I was a high school teacher, and especially with something like history where there are provincial standards and exams, that is a real restriction on how we can teach, or how we can reach out to, or how we can find these more authentic and truer stories that we want to explore. So I wondered if who amongst the panel might be able to comment on the problems of trying to teach the way we want to be teaching, but also having to work within these institutional structures that imagine a very different world. If that makes any sense at all.
Peut-être tenter de répondre et dans de me rapprocher de ce que Caroline Desrochers disait. En Ontario, le ministère de l'Ontario a, dans le panier de curriculum, c'est justement le Identity Building, mais du côté franco-ontarien. Et donc, ils ont financé des projets comme des groupes comme, par exemple, Félix Saint-Denis de l'Écho d'un peuple, qui a justement élaboré des outils absolument merveilleux. Puis c'est le point, Caroline, parce que tu vas montrer, c'est ça, montrer encore. Et si vous avez, on a passé très vite, mais tantôt, j'avais des images semblables, n'est-ce pas? Parce que, finalement, ce que vous avez fait, ce que nous avons fait du côté de l'Ontario, ce que vous avez fait du côté du Québec, toute l'histoire de Champlain nous a permis de se brancher, de connaître davantage ce qui se passait aussi à Tibi, les Anishinabés, Champlain, le réseau du patrimoine gatinois, la Société franco-ontarienne du patrimoine de l'histoire d'Orléans. Nous avons tous interchangé. Et pour répondre directement, c'est ça, c'est qu'en tout cas en Ontario, ils ont compris ça au gouvernement parce qu'ils nous ont donné des sous, par exemple, à un groupe comme l'Écho d'un peuple pour développer des outils qui ensuite servent à travers de l'Ontario et même au Québec. Alors, je trouve ça, et comme tu disiez, Mme Tanasco tantôt, c'est ça, c'est important que les gouvernements comprennent que parfois il faut donner des sous, pas seulement au ministère de l'Éducation, mais également à des groupes comme vous autres, comme nous autres, pour pouvoir développer des outils et des stratégies d'enseignement qui vont se rapprocher de ce qu'on veut vraiment atteindre.
Moi, j'ajouterais que au niveau du primaire, peut-être que la toponymie de la région nous aide beaucoup à susciter l'intérêt chez les enfants, que ce soit seulement, je donne un exemple très simple, les chutes rideaux, qui ont été, comme on l'apprend dans le rideau se lève sur le Mont Nouveau, qui ont été baptisés par Champlain quand il y a eu des Anishinabés passés en arrière. Donc, on a les outils, des outils dans la région pour vraiment faire en sorte de susciter l'intérêt. On a des commentaires aussi parfois au niveau des enseignants du secondaire que les programmes d'histoire sont écrits selon un certain nombre. Bien entendu, chaque enseignant peut donner sa couleur dans sa classe. Ils doivent suivre des outils prescriptifs, c'est bien entendu. Comme vous disiez, parfois les enseignants vont donner leur couleur justement en amenant des idéologies différentes. Et ça, c'est naturel que ça se passe, bien entendu.
Let's certainly.
Hey, I got something.
Oh, never interrupt
my good colleague Sean Graham. I'm in a very privileged position because I don't have institutional restrictions. But the structures I have in regards to teaching a history course, the way I'd like to teach the history course, is often the students and their assumptions about what history is and where history is found and where it's not found. And one of the things that I like to do by sending students out into the world, into museums, online into oral history collections and all sorts of destinations, one of the reasons to have these encounters is to really disrupt their whole assumptions about that history is somehow anything but a form of memory. Because so much of what I've come to believe is so fundamental to what I get to do as a historian is that I get to kind of swim in these waters of history, but it's a way of knowing the past. That is just that, a way of knowing the past. And there's lots of ways of knowing the past, and one of the things the early we can introduce, I think, our students to thinking in that regard is not to reject that history doesn't have its own conventions and its own rules, just like other epistemologies have their own rules and so forth. But it is to problematize and to try to do some unworking about their assumptions about where history is found, and it's found in libraries and archives, and that should be the extent of their explorations. Those are one of several destinations that I'd like my students to take in our pursuit of knowledge and our pursuit of understanding. So it's a little esoteric, but the restrictions I sometimes find is convincing my students that it does make sense to go look at monuments and to think about what they're seeing and to talk about what they're seeing with each other, just as we would talking about a scholarly article or a book published by UBC Press or something like that.
I'm sorry, Anita, please.
I was just going to say that First Nations are often caught in this battle of finding balance between history, what's documented, what's out there, what's being taught in provincial schools and in various provinces, and telling our own stories, the stories of our nations and our communities and our families. And we feel that by merging the two, this is what builds a strong, successful student. By having the student aware, the First Nation student aware of who he or she is, comfortable in that fact that they're Anishinaabe or they're Mohawk or they're Mi'kmaq. This brings so many positive elements to their own learning, their well-being, and to others.
Oui, quand on parle de l'enseignement d'histoire, du patrimoine, etc. Dans notre cas, c'est par le regard critique, un développement critique sur l'histoire, sur le patrimoine et toutes les manifestations de l'humanité. Et aussi, un deuxième élément qui est très important, les étudiants travaillent de manière pratique sur le terrain. Ça, c'est très important dans leur environnement, vraiment avec le patrimoine régional. C'est très important de procéder par les projets concrets. Je pense que c'est ça que les étudiants préfèrent.
Well, that's and focusing on the student, and I sometimes wonder too about the teacher. I was quite struck by Chief White Duck's comments this morning about protocols, and my academic background is in Roman archaeology, so I often find myself having to teach classes that really don't connect with that very well, and that's happened to me at the high school level too. That you will have someone who's teaching the subject or trying to lead an authentic experience who doesn't have the kind of background that we might have here. So I wonder if there is such a thing as an appropriate protocol that a new teacher might be able to respect in order to achieve some of these other things that we're talking about. And there might not be a good answer to that question right now. It just was something that struck me. Please, go ahead.
No, just, like this one, you have a lot of lines in the room.
Well, that's the great thing, right? This is meant to be a discussion amongst all of us here who are bringing different experiences, different engagements to the table. And Lord knows you don't need to listen to me talk, because I said I'm the Roman archaeology guy. So please, if there are, I would encourage and welcome questions from the floor now. Yes, sir.
Merci pour une discussion très stimulante. Thank you, Miguel Wesh. La question, l'ensemble de questions que j'aimerais poser se résume à qu'est-ce qui va devenir de 1613 Champlain et Tessouat dans 5 ans lorsqu'on parle de l'éducation? Est-ce qu'ici on a affaire avec une génération d'étudiants qui, en raison de l'anniversaire du côté ontarien et du côté québécois, vont avoir le privilège, l'occasion d'apprendre à connaître ces personnages-là, mais que ce ne sera pas une occasion qui va être donnée aux générations d'étudiants qui leur succèdent, qui eux auront peut-être à se pencher plutôt sur la Première Guerre mondiale, puis ensuite sur les prochains anniversaires qui surviennent. In the same fashion, I suspect that at Ganzibi and Pugnagan, students will be much more familiar or will have opportunities to learn about Tessouat, not just this year, but ongoing years, more so than in non-Aboriginal contexts. But then is there a fear that perhaps for the non-Aboriginal community, 2013 will have been a happy celebratory opportunity, French, Anishinaabe, Canadians coming together, and that this will peter out, and all the goodwill that's created may not prove to be lasting. So a set of questions that go beyond the question of education, mais qui, à mon avis, sont ancrés là-dedans, puisqu'on parle d'un programme scolaire adapté à l'anniversaire qui passe à juste. Si vous allez penser.
Ce n'est pas une réponse directe, but we often hear that in 2017 we will be celebrating the 100th anniversary and of Canada. Alors, I think it's for us, all of us, that's only in 4 years. That's all of us to remember that, hey, le Canada a quand même 400 années et que le 150e, c'est la Confédération qui est one stepstone towards where we are now, mais que ce n'est pas le début, mais que c'est une continuité. Et je pense que ta question, c'est justement de dire, bon, ben, ça serait à nous tous ici de s'assurer que dans nos festivités, nos célébrations, qu'on essaie de raccrocher tout ce que l'on a vécu en 2013.
Je pense que cette question en partie concerne les étudiants aussi présents. Donc, qu'est-ce qu'eux ils ont retenu de cette célébration? Est-ce que cette célébration avec différentes propositions dans les musées, dans les fêtes, etc., est-ce qu'il y a eu un changement dans la perception de ce premier contact de Champlain? Est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose? Donc, peut-être on peut leur poser aussi la question.
What I could say is that as Anishinaabe, we've been here for thousands of years. We were here 400 years ago. We're going to be here 400 years and more from now. And we're going to do our work in protecting our culture and our history and our language and share it with others. And we hope that Canadians will do their part in respecting that fact that we're here and in teaching history in regards to Champlain and many other topics.
I think the only thing I would add to that is that one of the things that I can do as a history professor is to put 2013 into its historical context by comparing it and contrasting it to other commemorations near and distant in the past, and the ways in which, what were the byproducts, the advantage of historicizing some of these things that we can see, for example, what little effect 1908 had in terms of the tercentenary, right, in terms of fusing the different parties in Canada back together. And it's not to cast a skeptical, oh yes it is to right? It is to insist that this isn't the work. This isn't the work of mutual understanding. It is a step. And the way that we as historians will maybe do that is to point to these historical examples where people thought we had wrapped up the problem of difference or wrapped up the problem of linguistic tension or racial tensions, right, with a wonderful celebration. And I think we need to push back against that and emphasize the importance of this moment, but only in relation to something much larger and broader, more systemic.
One of the things we're doing, and as part of this colloquium in this anniversary year, was we have the other hat I wear in the department is the digital history person, and we have an archive, a digital repository where students in the public history program are trying to collect something of this moment, commemoration, and do it in such a way that it will be deposited in the university archives and then become a teaching resource. But the problem with any kind of digital resource is that degrades and that assumes particular ways of remembering things. And so the sustainability of these things is something that always continues. So, please, if you do have questions, just come up to the microphones and we'll take questions.
Hey, my name is Joe. I'm a professor at St. Mary's University, representing tomorrow in commemoration. I wrote my master's thesis on Digo Dembek, and I wrote my PhD thesis on the celebration of Champlain's 400th anniversary in Quebec in 2008. And I have a lot of things to say about commemoration, partly stuff that I'm just kind of seeing here that's quite similar. One thing that I think is different here is that we're actually having discussions about what it means to remember the past and how we mobilize the past in the present and for what purposes, which I didn't see in any of those contexts. let's see. I think that, I forget what I wanted to say. I gave a good context for what I wanted to say, but, so one of the things that happens with commemoration, just like we were saying, there's this like very celebratory mood, and I can see from some of the different speakers trying to underline particular ways in which are moments when we learn about Champlain or we learn about Indigenous peoples, whether they're the Algonquin or others. But the links with the actual ongoing colonization and the forms of violence that Indigenous people continue to actually face are never made. So we'll talk about, we'll make a canoe together, and some people will discover that they actually are Métis. I have Indigenous ancestry. Does that make me Métis? No, it doesn't. That's an actual political identity. It's not just a blood relationship. But regardless of that, that's a whole other argument. Making canoes are nice, and it's definitely something that will give people a sense of maybe a larger world out there that, takes them out of the classroom, and I'm not denying that. But the fact of the matter is that even in a place like Itiganzibi, the actual ongoing way that colonialism affects communities and individuals is quite real. It's not something that happened in the past, it remains in the past. And that's part of the way that we learn things like colonialism through the actual curriculum you were just describing. So apparently in high school in Quebec, we learned pretty much the same history I learned in high school in Ontario, at a French high school. And those contextualizations are never made. There's no coincidence that there are hundreds and hundreds of missing Aboriginal women who are either murdered or missing. Nobody looks for them. Nobody cares except for Indigenous peoples and a few people who kind of find out about this, including in Itiganzibi, where this has happened recently, 5 years ago, 2 young girls. This doesn't happen in other communities in quite the same way. I'm not saying it doesn't happen to women and girls in other communities. It does, but it gets a very different type of attention. And that's just one example, there's several. And I think that if we're going to talk about wanting to actually remember the past and bring that up in terms of, making more friendly relationships in the present, we absolutely have to talk about the inevitable inequalities that have flowed from those relationships and that we continue to solidify through these exact stories by saying that now we get along. Not saying, well, maybe we're a little bit friendlier, but maybe we're actually depoliticizing the struggles that Indigenous peoples continually bring forth and that we ignore as people because we have our understanding of the past that we continue to repeat. And I'm upset because this is pretty much what happens in these types of discussions, but at least we're talking about it, and I think that's fabulous.
Does anybody wish to please?
Je vais seulement dire que des événements comme ça nous sortent, et je le dis honnêtement, de la sobriété de nos programmes. Si je peux m'exprimer ainsi.
Je voulais seulement renforcer ce que Daryl vient de dire. Moi, je suis aussi la maman de 2 enfants qui sont proches de cette commission scolaire-là. De l'autre côté de la rivière, puis je pense que je suis peut-être une barrier mom, là. Je sais pas trop comment. J'ai souvent envie de faire le takeover de l'univers social. Puis, mon problème, c'est que la semaine dernière, à la réunion de parents, on a annoncé le thème de l'année. C'est toujours un thème de grande civilisation. L'année passée, c'était les Égyptiens du temps des pharaons. Cette année, c'est les Amérindiens. Alors, c'est un petit peu surprenant. J'ai dit, est-ce qu'on parle ici d'une civilisation disparue? Et puis, de quelle nation est-ce qu'on parle en particulier? Vous êtes au courant que Champlain a passé ici il y a 400 ans, ce serait peut-être une bonne occasion de parler à nos voisins de Kishantibi, etc., qui n'est pas du tout au courant. Donc ça, premièrement, c'est décevant. Deuxièmement, vous dire, non, mais de toute façon, c'est un projet qui va culminer dans une grande fête où on va se costumer. Oh. Alors j'ai complètement explosé. Et puis je me suis dit, c'est drôle qu'on ne célèbre pas l'Empire ottoman, que tout le monde se déguise en musulman. C'est quelque chose qui se fait pas. Hein? Et puis je pense que ça, c'est pas passé encore malheureusement auprès de nos enseignants, qui sont débordés, qui ont des classes de 28, 29, avec des enfants multiples problèmes, etc. Mais cette réalité simple-là, que c'est pas acceptable qu'un projet comme ça
vais passer à travers tous les jobs de loup, là, tous les cerceaux, des comités pédagogiques, des comités de parents, des CA, puis qu'on arrive à présenter ça aux parents et aux enfants comme on fait dater, je trouve ça absolument terrifiant. Je me dis, et puis là, j'essaie de transformer ce moment de frustration intense en moment d'enseignement, nécessairement. Donc, j'ai pris mon calme et puis j'ai dit, bien, le gouvernement de l'Ontario a fait un beau document, et voici l'écho des peuples, et voici le PDF, et il y a même un mot croisé, une petite clé trouée qui accueille des mots comme despote, comme machinalier, etc. Je pense que la question est très large et extrêmement problématique, mais sa source est probablement qu'on oublie de regarder le passé à partir du présent. Puis les professeurs qui étaient, ma foi, fort stupéfaits de ma réaction, m'ont dit, mais de toute façon, nous, on regarde les relations entre les Amérindiens et les Français en l'an 1500 à peu près. Hein. C'est ça notre curriculum. Ben, je comprends, mais on pourrait peut-être se poser la question, pourquoi est-ce que c'est intéressant de s'intéresser aux années 1500? Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé à ce moment-là? Puis à qui ça sert de s'intéresser à ça? Ça sert aux Franco-Ontariens qui disent, ça fait 400 ans qu'on est ici. Ça sert aux Québécois de dire, ça fait 400 ans qu'on est ici. Ça sert à qui d'autre? Et pourquoi on ne parle pas du fait que les Algonquins sont encore là aussi 400 ans plus tard? Donc, en tout cas, ma question est plutôt un commentaire un peu émotif, là. Mais ce que je voulais surtout mentionner, c'est que le programme pédagogique et le cursus ne semblent pas s'interroger à partir du présent.
Je peux faire un commentaire dans ce sens que, oui, c'est vrai, je suis très enthousiaste, puis effectivement, ça fait 400 nous fêtons 400 années de présence, tu deviens émotive, 400 années de présence francophone en Ontario, et j'y crois, et je suis proactive, mais je me dis, il faut quand même commencer quelque part. Il faut commencer quelque part. Il faut attirer l'attention là où on peut. Mais je vais vous donner un exemple bien terre à terre au niveau de, par exemple, la francophonie à Ottawa, de patrimoine. Ça, c'est un exemple que j'aime utiliser parce que c'est assez neutre. Lorsque la ville d'Ottawa a amalgamé toutes les régions, plusieurs petits villages autour, anglophones, francophones, la ville d'Ottawa avait gardé les mêmes critères quand tu voulais désigner, par exemple, des édifices patrimoniaux. Alors, à un moment donné, nous, à Orléans, there was one thing left on the boulevard I wanted to protect because it was really quelque chose qui datait des années 1900. C'était un silo, un vieux silo. Et je me souviens que la ville d'Ottawa nous a dit, that is worth nothing. Et puis, je leur ai répondu, it is worth nothing for you, but it is worth a lot for us. Et à ce moment-là, ce qu'elle m'a dit, c'est, OK, montez votre cas. Et en dedans de quelques semaines, nous avons monté notre cas, nous avons été logiques. Et finalement, en passant même par la loi sur le patrimoine, et finalement, le silo a été reconnu comme étant effectivement quelque chose de patrimonial, but not under the general, regular, tu sais, quelle est l'expression that will say, what's the expression? I'm looking at you because you should know that expression, that it is, like standard, kind of. So we cannot look at all the cultures, whether it is Anishinaabe, whether it is Francophone, Anglophone, or other diversity, that we cannot continue to be always standardized. We have to sometimes think out of the box, for example. Mais tout ça pour dire, this is a simple example, and finally, the people who didn't want to help us, because they said that, yeah, the silo is just an old thing, now they're asking for us for our knowledge and how to protect some building like that. Donc, le message ici, c'est qu'il faut parfois commencer par des événements comme nous faisons, puis under the ground, you work out other ways of, attaining your objective.
I was just going to say that for years, First Nations, whether it be at the regional level, national level, local level. We've been reaching out at many levels to different organizations, school boards, anyone who will listen to us about how to offer authentic, accurate information to students and to incorporate two versions of histories, if I may say, so that the students in our schools today leave with a more extensive knowledge of First Nations and Canadian history. Certainly having people dress in costumes, it brings money to dollar stores because the purple feathers are sold and the fake leather and that, but we really want to focus on authentic culture, and that will only come by having elders and resource people and First Nations people with experience in their communities and their nations come to support those who are willing, those who are interested.
Yes, please.
Excusez-moi. Mon nom c'est Sophie, j'étudie à l'Université du Québec en Outaouais en éducation. Et puis, je vais dire, c'est plus un commentaire qu'une question. J'ai eu une enseignante assez spéciale qui nous a dit que notre rôle en tant qu'enseignant ne se limite pas seulement à suivre le programme qu'on nous donne, que le gouvernement du Québec nous donne, qui va plus loin que ça, que nous, en fait, on doit l'analyser, ce programme-là, se dire ce qu'il y a là-dedans, est-ce que ça va avec mes valeurs d'enseignement, est-ce que ça va avec ma façon de voir la pédagogie, ma façon de voir le monde. Donc, je pense que de cette façon-là, moi, j'ai eu des enseignants d'histoire dans ma vie que ce n'était pas les dates qu'on devait apprendre, que ce n'était pas le nom spécifique des peuples et des personnages et tout ça, mais c'était vraiment de développer notre sens critique, de voir comment est-ce qu'aujourd'hui, on peut essayer de pas jouer, mais vivre avec ces choses-là qui sont arrivées, et puis essayer de grandir en tant que société, puis d'inclure tout le monde dans la communauté. Donc, je pense que c'est notre rôle en tant qu'enseignante de transmettre ces valeurs-là aux enfants pour que, je veux dire, c'est pas si important qu'ils sachent qu'en 1500, il est appelé ici ou peu importe. Moi, je pense que ce qui est vraiment important, c'est qu'ils sachent qu'est-ce qui est arrivé, puis qu'est-ce qu'aujourd'hui ils peuvent faire en tant que société pour mettre tout le monde ensemble, et puis pour qu'on fasse des projets, puis qu'on aille apprendre justement des gens qui sont sur place, dans les réserves, aller les voir, puis, mais c'est quoi votre culture, c'est quoi vos légendes, tout ça. Puis pour un enfant, de l'entendre de la bouche d'un grand-père, d'une grand-mère, pour eux, c'est extraordinaire, là, je veux dire, ils sont tellement excités quand leur famille vient parler en classe, mais c'est la même chose. Donc, je pense que c'est vraiment d'aller aux sources primaires, puis d'aller rencontrer, comme vous dites, les gens qui sont dans les réserves, puis de travailler avec eux sur le programme. Donc, voilà.
Certainly, I think the existence of standardized exams at the secondary level puts a lot of pressure on teachers to not have that kind of freedom that you were speaking about. So, and I don't know what we here can do other than storm the education ministries, which is a nice idea.
Merci. Merci. Mais quelles sont l'importance de langue dans la culture? C'est pour la culture franco-ontarienne, c'est français, mais algonquin, etc. And also English for other versions, other English cultural language is tied to that. All of the importance in education is tied to language. How do you see the importance of not only displaying but teaching or other ways in just in ways that will reach the furthest out, but also in a way that will respect the culture at the basic level, or it can would be. I've read the book, the textbook, and learned about because you have to be through English. But what's the importance of trying to have someone come into use Algonquin and also use English, or just when you translate, use the trying to cross the language barrier in education.
I guess I must explain that in Kitigan-Zibi, we are an independent school system. We're not under the Ministry of Education, and our school was built back in 1980, built by local carpenters. The programs were set up by the people who were administering the school system at the time. Currently, 95% of our staff are First Nations, they are Anishinaabe, and they are fully qualified. And yes, we value our language and our culture and our history extremely in our schools and in our curriculum. We teach our students in Anishinaabe, English, and French. They have 3 languages per day. We have a bit of a longer school day than the average school. And perhaps we have a few more school days to account for some of the cultural days that we take so that our students get out on the land and work with elders and participate in cultural activities. Language for us, the Anishinaabe language, speaks to who we are, speaks to our history, speaks to our land, our stories, our legends. Do we have as many speakers as we once did? No, we don't. We feel that pain of losing our language, certainly in Kitigan-Zibi. Perhaps some other Anishinaabe communities have more of the language right now, but we are facing a loss of language in our nation. We're currently trying to come together to work on that, to talk about how we can preserve our language. Are we funded for it adequately? No. Is it a responsibility of ourselves to carry out this work? Yes, we certainly have a role to play in it. And there are many factors why language was put down in our nation and in our communities. The residential school systems, the foster care system, adoptions that took place, the 60s scoop. There's just so many things that I could bring up that have come to impact our communities and really cause damage to our families. And we're trying to break out of that. We're trying to come together and support one another.
So maybe what I can ask you now, just as we're finishing up this session on teaching 1613, if you 3 elements that you think we absolutely have to have in order to teach 1613 appropriately in our various communities. Things that might need to exist, things that are currently existing but we can keep doing. I'm just tossing this out here now as an idea of something. But first I would like to invite you to ask a question.
Just if may I add up to your remark, is how that makes sense within the current Canadian society, which is built up mostly by immigrants who do not have those linkages that are most clearly made between Franco-Ontarians, Quebecois, or Indigenous communities, but for the new population living in Canada.
Absolutely. That's a topic we haven't actually touched whatsoever. Thoughts or comments on it?
Ça complique la donne, si je peux dire. Ça devient de plus en plus compliqué donc de réunir différents types de regards sur l'histoire. Donc cette histoire de nouvelles, les gens qui arrivent récemment, au moins récemment, participent aussi à la création de cette histoire et donc de cette manière inclure, moi je parlais de l'inclusion de tout ça, c'est là où le défi, et c'est là où je pense qu'on a besoin de créativité, je n'ai pas d'autre mot, parce que ça devient, c'est pas seulement ici, je veux dire, c'est un phénomène partout, mais comment inclure ces différents regards, différentes contributions aussi, il y a une concurrence de différentes histoires et différentes mémoires aussi. On sait très bien au musée, même dans l'espace d'exposition, il y a une concurrence, c'est quoi qu'on présente, c'est quoi qu'on met en avant, même dans l'enseignement, c'est quoi qu'on choisit comme important, quelle date est importante, quel objet est important. Voilà, c'est ça. Je n'ai pas la réponse.
Well, I'm going to poke from Daryl's remarks because one of the things that I would want included into whatever decisions we make going forward is that 1613 is very much us. It is very much of the present. And to make clear those lineages about contact and about possibilities and about choices not made and other choices made, we need to do a more explicit job of reminding that the past isn't just a distant country where they do things differently. It is us. It is we. It is now. And one of the things that's become evident in history departments is how disinterested so many students are becoming with the distant past. The curiosity before the 17th century, the 18th century, even the early 19th century is being lost because as students say, even when I'm trying to recruit the best of them to do graduate work in those areas, is that it just feels they can't appreciate or understand its relevance beyond what the historiography, beyond what scholars tell them was important to the unfolding of history over time. And one of the reasons why I'm talking about things like the afterlives is that it calls attention to the fact that a monument to Champlain and how that monument changed over time and why we have Jeff Thomas and other storytellers problematizing that statue, why it's still very much a part of our present. And the more that students see those relationships between then and now, I think the more they can get excited about why 1613 matters to them, even if they're not from here. Even if it seems a long way. The absence of modernity is usually the big claim about why students don't like the distant past. It seems too foreign to them. And I think one of the ways that we need to kind of overcome that and push back that is by making explicit what the linkages are between then and now. And I guess writing a more relentless history of the present and in our talks, in our exhibitions, and certainly in our writing.
And that's where the artists' interventions are so crucial and so important, I think, for overcoming that exact issue.
Oui, donc c'est un fait que les élèves, les étudiants apprennent dans des situations signifiantes pour eux. Donc l'année prochaine, dans 5 ans, dans 10 ans, Champlain va avoir encore passé sur la rivière des Outaouais. Donc je pense qu'il n'y a pas plus signifiant que quelque chose qui est arrivé dans sa région. Donc je pense que c'est comme ça qu'on va pouvoir le faire perdurer là, dans le temps et continuer là, la sensibilisation et l'apprentissage des élèves là, à la réalité là, des Anishinaabe, du contact.
I was thinking about back in 1988 when I was leaving Kirigan-Zibi to go to college. My dad at one point sat me down and said, "Remember as you go off to college, often scholars write for other scholars. Archaeologists write for other archaeologists. Historians write for other historians. But it's important you have to remember who you are and analyze what you're being taught, analyze what you're reading out there." And as I think about what are we saying about 1613, what are we going to say about it in the future, it brings to mind that it's so important for us to come together cross-culturally and a cross-section of people to talk about what are we going to say, how is this important, what message are we going to move forward with in regards to 1613, Champlain, and our collective histories.
Et justement, je pense que je remercie les organisateurs parce que je nous regarde autour de la table ici et nous représentons déjà beaucoup de diversité. Nous parlons et ensemble nous réfléchissons. Alors déjà, moi je trouve que c'est une première étape. Et puis merci aussi à monsieur d'avoir merci d'avoir soulevé cet élément-là, parce que c'est vrai, nous sommes ici aujourd'hui, mais il faut essayer de sensibiliser, mais okay, what's the real happening around us? Alors, merci aussi à vous, Diane.
And maybe as historians, we can stop writing for other historians and start writing for the people who actually matter in terms of our scholarship. So I think this is a good point to draw this session to a close a little bit quicker than predicted on the schedule, but not by much. So thank you very much to our panelists and to all of you.